Hello. In this video, I want to find the exact value of each of the following. We have sine of 195 degrees and sine of 75 degrees. To do this, we're going to use the sine of a sum or difference. So let's go ahead and write that down. The sine of alpha plus or minus beta is equal to sine alpha cosine beta, and then plus or minus cosine alpha sine beta. Excellent. Once we know that, we can figure this out. I need anything that can add or subtract to give me 195 degrees. So in this, we're going to need to know the special angles, and we're in degrees, so let's go with that. 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45, 60, 90, 120, 135, 150, 180. Now that's probably enough if I just want to add to 195. So looking through this, if I want 195, notice that there's a 150 and there's a 45. Those two added together will give me 195. So that tells me that I can figure out sine of 195. So this is going to give me, well, let me label it. And let's use purple here. So the sine of 195 degrees would be the same thing as the sine of 150 degrees plus 45 degrees. Now, notice it doesn't matter if it's 45 plus 150 or 150 plus 45. And then just use the formula. Now, notice that we're using addition here, so I need to use addition between the two. This is going to give me the sine of 150 degrees cosine of 45 degrees plus cosine of 150 degrees sine of 45 degrees. And then just simplify. Now, to do that, 150, if you were to put this in like this, there we go, that's 150. The reference angle is therefore 30 degrees. So theta prime is 30 degrees. And notice that we're in the second quadrant, so only sine is positive in the second quadrant. So this is positive, and so that means that sine of 150 is the same thing as the sine of 30 degrees. And then cosine 45 degrees, plus now cosine of 150, cosine is in the second quadrant is negative, so that's going to make that a minus. Cosine 150 would become cosine 30 degrees. Sine of 45 degrees. Awesome. And then just simplify. Sine of 30 degrees is a half. Cosine of 45 degrees is root 2 over 2. Minus cosine 30 degrees is root 3 over 2. Sine 45 degrees is root 2 over 2. And then just simplify. So it gives you root 2 over 4, and then minus root 6 over 4. And then just simplify at that point. That gives you root 2 minus root 6 all over 4. So the sine of 195 degrees is root 2 minus root 6 all over 4. Excellent. By the way, notice that this is negative. Root 2 is less than root 6. So this makes this negative, and we are in the third quadrant for 195. And in that quadrant, only tangent is positive, so that makes the sine has to be negative there. Good. Now we can do sine of 75 degrees. And we can again add if we want, or we can subtract if we want. It really doesn't matter. But it's going to be pretty easy. 30 plus 45 is 75. So that's going to be what I want to use. So let's look at the sine of 75 degrees, which is the same thing as sine of 45 degrees plus 30 degrees. So that would give me the sine of 45 degrees, cosine of 30 degrees, and then plus cosine 45 degrees, sine 30 degrees. And then just simplify. Sine 45 is root 2 over 2. Cosine 30 is root 3 over 2. Plus cosine 45 is root 2 over 2. sine 30 is 1/2. And then just simplify. That's going to wind up with root 6 plus root 2 all over 4. So the sine of 75 degrees is this. Now notice that this is positive. Sine, or 75 degrees is in the first quadrant, which means all trigonometric functions in the first quadrant are positive. So therefore, this makes sense. Alrighty. There's everything we did. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here, and I will see you in the next one. Have fun.